Need to head out of pit lane. We'll hand it over to Neil Crompton in commentary.
Afternoon to you, Jess. Good afternoon, everybody. We're set now for our final practice session for the day for Supercars. We had Pertec Enduro Cup drivers getting some additional practice earlier in the day. We've had practice 1 earlier this afternoon, and this wraps it all up. Another 30 minutes to come. Shane Van Gisbergen, car number 97. He'll be sharing with Garth Tander later in the year, and Garth had a run this morning and was very strong. Beautiful shot looking down the sill panel of the Shell V-Power Racing Ford Mustang. It's chilly out there at the moment, and as you just heard the team discussing, there's the threat of showers. It's officially at Launceston Airport at the moment, just on 18 degrees, with a lot of rain and wind forecast for later in the day. Virgin Australia, event number 3 for the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. We'll have a look at the details surrounding this track now. 2.4 kilometres and 7 turns. Jamie has the practice record in a 50.5. They've got into the 50s so far today. And remembering that this has got a crucial role in the way in which qualifying, which is the elimination qualifying process, rolls out this weekend, this final practice session today. So we will see people on high quality tyres. So the point there is I think that practice record may either be equalled or threatened based on the speed that we saw earlier today. Complex little track, simple to look at, not so easy to master. Big braking application down here into turn 4 with a very slow corner at just 50 kilometres per hour in first gear. And then there's a little concrete apron on the outside of that corner at turn 4 that helps you launch down the back straight, where you'll achieve more than 260 kilometres an hour depending on the wind direction. It's pretty gentle out there at the moment, next to no wind. And then into another very big braking stop into turn 6. 4 and 6 really hurt the brakes, and there's not a lot of recovery time there. It's pretty gentle when it comes to bumps, although they do clobber the curb pretty hard down there at turn 2. It's got a very high percentage of wide open throttle around here, and a pretty high average speed as well. Fastest corner is turn 5, which we like to loosely describe as the back straight. That's 260 kilometres per hour. In terms of that throttle percentage, it's just under 60%, so there's a lot of wide open throttle here, so straight line performance is really important. But before you ever get to use all that power, you've got to get it to the road, and that's one of the things they concentrate on here. No surprise, when you launch out of that hairpin in first gear, it's very easy to create wheel spin. Mark actually raised a very good point in the commentary box earlier in practice 1 about the way in which the cars are set up geometrically to be able to set the cambers front and rear in such a way that you maximise turning performance in one direction and help yourself with drive in another. So there are lots of little things that contribute to lap performance here in search of the tiny fractions of time, and you need it because one of the characteristics of this racetrack, and we're celebrating our 50th year of racing at Symmons Plains, and this is the 47th visit for the Australian Touring Car Championship and for Supercars. One of the characteristics is crazy tight margins. Whoa. That was a bit ugly for Shane down there at turn 4. So even in that last practice session when we had a 50.7 Jamie Whincup as the best time, you've got to go all the way beyond, he says, searching down the list, 18th position before that margin gets bigger than 0.5 of a second. Here we are on board with Shane Van Gisbergen. Busy boy as always, just fiddling with brake biases, anti-roll bars, making gear changes. We talk about the high line at turn 4. That really is the high line. Here it is again from outside. You'll see just exactly what I'm talking about. So Shane recognised that there was no way he was going to be able to pull it up, and so he ran it all the way around the top of the bowl. No lock brake, no gravel, tick, move on to the next thing. Now Coulthard's gone faster than anybody. He's done a 51.5. Cam Waters on screen, position number 2, 2/100ths of a second behind. Van Gisbergen has recovered from that ropey start at turn 4. He's showing great sector splits at the moment. The curb cams and the wall cams here are pretty lively because there's lots of places where you run the car to within a millimetre of its life, particularly on the exit of turn 3 down there beneath. Well, Lee Holdsworth coming back on the track from he was coming from Hobart. That voice in the background is Mark Skater, who joins us again from the host position back into the commentary box, and that took me by surprise. The little green bottle-o flash from nowhere.
Exactly. Good afternoon, Neil. I was a bit gobsmacked by that too, and I'm sure Cam was also. Lee Holdsworth was clearly up where Shane Van Gisbergen was at turn 4, and then re-emerged in front of his teammate. So Peyton Coulthard, as you said, with a 51.1 now. Jamie Whincup with a 51.18, so there's 0.04 between Coulthard and Whincup. Reynolds comes up. Van Gisbergen's on a very good first sector. Todd Hazelwood now up 18 spots, the 51.2.
Just as I came to the commentary box, you would have picked up on it as well. There was a little bit of rain falling out there. I reckon this will be a frantic session. They're going to have to work very hard in a limited time window, just 26 minutes remaining, to not only learn a lot, the last opportunity to really learn about the car before things get very serious tomorrow, but this contributes to part one, effectively, of the... Whoa! There's a spooky moment for Simona. Right rear on the grass. How did she end up pointing in the right direction out of this one? Check it out from our RF camera in the pit lane. So she's put the right rear on the grass and looped it, and then managed to have it all pointing in the right direction when she gathered it back up. Look at the steering. Full opposite lock. And then eventually it has bitten. That is an unbelievable moment. And then it steered around its own front wheels, going backwards, didn't have anybody else in that path. And then she's, whoa, hang on, we're pointing the right direction. There's turn one.
I reckon it was Garth Tander who had his head out across the wall watching that. That would have been a good view from Garth, because that was right in front of him. That was a big moment. We saw James Golding with a moment like that. There he is. That was GT, yes, so he would have been watching going, whoa, that's going to be a monster.
Todd Kelly in the garage at Kelly Racing. It's extraordinary viewing down there when you watch our cars through there.
It's a great spot. You and I stand there and doing a lot.
Love
it's
it.
Great.
Yeah. While they're all peeling off, a quick, brief, short, old story. Just when I saw Garth, it made me think of the old days of Gary Rogers Motorsport. So we're down here years ago. One of those days that was late 90s, crazy wet.
Yep.
On for a podium. Got to a lap or two from the end and spilt it there, which was dumb.
Yeah.
Giant puddle. Fired it into the mud, managed to cover about 3 or 4 blokes from Gary's team, like head to toe in mud.
You did.
Outstanding outcome from an otherwise uneventful exercise that not too proud of. But it's a great place to watch the cars, but just don't be standing there if anybody fires off in the goop. Well, as a reality in the modern context, James Courtney's just come up into 4th.
Yeah, when that Golding moment, that was just massive in the previous session. He was on full opposite lock and he was about to do what Simona did. But Simona, as you said, one of the great miracles of that spin was that she didn't hit anything on either side and was able to drive away straight at the end. So this is Nick Percat, who, remember, ended up in the sand trap, or gravel trap, at the end of turn 4 in the previous session.
Simona, that was one of the most spectacular things I've seen here at Symmons Plains. Was it just a fluke that you managed to get that straight again, or was that just good car control?
I think just skills. No, I don't know. Yeah, I just lost the rear, and yeah, I guess I'm pretty lucky to not hit anything, but yeah, definitely kind of got my attention for sure.
It got our attention too. It was one of those things that could have gone very wrong in many ways. Apparently, talking to guy Kevin Fitzsimmons from Dunlop Motorsport, those tyres I think are actually looking pretty good. Can you believe that, or can you feel flat spots in them?
Yeah, it might be a little flat spotted, but you know the session is still going, so might go out on those and see what we got. So yeah, we'll see.
How's the heart rate?
It's all right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the way she opened the batting with a bit of positive spin there. It was all skill. I knew exactly what I was doing. So she ended up with the right rear. And what happens as the weekend progresses, even into this second practice session, there's other support categories here too, obviously, is the gap off the edge of the asphalt to the right begins to dig out. You can see it on our images there, just ahead of the curbing, or you can even end up on the wrong side of that curbing. So there's a tiny little extender on the exit of turn 7 there, but everybody uses every last mil. That's part of the deal. And she's ended up with the right rear on the grass down there. Ooh, Anton actually only just managed to scramble through turn 2 on that occasion as we pick up Scott McLaughlin. I went and had a chat to him after he played reporter for us down on the inside of turn 4. He loved it. He wants to do more of it because he said the best part was that you get to see everybody else's car, which you don't when he's doing what he's doing out there at the moment. And an opportunity to observe, listen, look and learn.
The thing about that spin there for Simona, so just put yourself in the chair of the Harvey Norman Nissan Altima. She rotated at roughly 180 kilometres an hour. So she was going backwards at 100k. 180k, that's fast.
That is fast. Ryan Walkinshaw was in the background there inside the garage. Nova 1 and Mega Fuels. So we're looking at Scott Pye on screen here at the moment, 7th. He had a pretty reasonable start in the earlier session as well, so he ended up finishing 8th. Chaz Mostert. As soon as we saw Chaz, Will Davison and Cam Waters early on in that last practice session, they all had turn 6 braking trauma. They seem to get on top of it pretty quickly, but he's come up into 2nd place now. His last sector is actually the best we've seen. He's pressing on with the lap that we were looking over his shoulder then, and his first sector is actually the best that we've seen. It might even challenge Jamie Whincup. We're back with Reynolds now. He's currently sitting in 9th position, and David was 5th fastest in the first practice session.
Looks better, this car. Looks like it's got nicer balance through turn 7. Reynolds comes up into 8th. Will Davison now comes up 18 spots into 6th.
Sorry, mate, just talking a little bit too much of it.
There's nothing like newer tyres to mask over a multitude of sins, so the cars often do look better as the day progresses. But the other thing that'll happen, and you know this only too well from your own experiences, Mark, all the chat about the deficiencies year on year, that'll be a melting iceberg pretty quick. They'll get on top of it. There's a lot of very intelligent people, smart engineering groups up and down these garages. And I'll be very surprised if we don't get a couple more race meetings in and you never hear another thing about it. They'll figure out how to make the new spring configuration work to their satisfaction. They'll come up with all kinds of ingenious methodologies to do that. And we'll be back where we started.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's the game that we play. So Whincup is 1/100th faster than his teammate now, and 1/100th faster than Mostert. So there is 0.0116 between Whincup, Van Gisbergen and Mostert. 3 cars within 0.07 effectively. That's just extraordinary stuff, those gaps. Van Gisbergen's also, he's looking like this might be slightly better. His middle sector was only just down on Jamie Whincup. He has the fastest first sector. Can he finish it off? He's right out using that little extremity that you just spoke of and didn't quite do it. He was 0.08 slower on the 2nd lap.
David Reynolds has actually just achieved the fastest 3rd sector on the racetrack, which, by the way, is really only the last corner. We call it 6 and 7, but it's kind of the one thing. So yeah. Sector 1 takes it from the start-finish line, and David's just moved up into 5th. Here he is. Sector 1 is this bit that he's in at the moment. Takes him down to the braking area at the hairpin at turn 4. Sector 2 from this hairpin that David's now approaching, it takes him up to the braking area of turn 6, and then that last one is really just through the left-hander. Mark Winterbottom on screen here, Irwin Racing, car number 18. And where's Frosty at the moment? He's just moved up a little bit into 15, 51.3. Back to Jamie. Whincup's done a personal best. Now, he's done a 17.47. And his teammate, Van Gisbergen's done a 17.45. That's out of breath at the end of the back straight at the moment, that car of Whincup. So that was 6th gear, 7,500 revs, and a little bit of benefit from the toe, I imagine.
Whoa! I love that corner, right out sideways. That would have cost him time at the end. It did. It was actually 1.5 tenths of a second it cost him. He was on track to knock his own best time off because he's done a 50.92 with a big mistake in the last sector.
He didn't take his foot out of the bucket though.
No,
Did you notice that?
No.
He just whined on some more lock and keep the loud noise alive. So he just pressed on back to Winterbottom. Charlie Schwerkoltz had a big dip this year. New car, effectively a new team. 2 new drivers. Stephen Richards will be driving for them in the Pertec Enduro Cup. Back to Van Gisbergen. And as Mark pointed out, there's the wacky margin of 1/100th of a second between the 2 teammates. And it's only another 7 10,000ths back to Chaz Mostert.
Yep. And there's 0.06 in the top 4. So Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Reynolds separated by 0.06 of a second.
Are they getting the most out of it? And is it close enough? Yes.
Yes. Oh, how's that for frantic activity? He couldn't get it stopped then, so he's feeding it gears. Lee Holdsworth there into turn 6. He just kept on feeding it gears to use the engine braking to help him stop. That was frantic activity from Lee, and he's just missed the apex pretty badly there at turn 2.
He's got an AP Racing braking package, and 8 times 10-to-1 compression ratio.
Yeah, that's right.
To try and help stop it. That's the braking power in the car. So Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Mostert and Reynolds, they've all come into the lane. Their positions 1 to 4. Active on the racetrack at the moment is McLaughlin. Wildcard this weekend, SCT Logistics, a Brad Jones racing car of Jack Smith. Now, he did a nice job in the first session to end up being 15th. And he's currently sitting strongly in 13th position, so this is a very good start. Not an easy thing to do. Not a bad track to do it at, though. And he's got form. He's been a champion in junior touring car racing categories. He's only young, he's 19 years of age. And here is the reigning champion now. He's done a personal best of a 17.5 in the first sector, Scott McLaughlin. So he's only 5/100 slower than the best time it's been done by Van Gisbergen. Didn't look like that. If it was on the limiter, it wasn't on as long as Van Gisbergen. A bit of that'll be tyre quality as well. He's wrestling it a fair bit through turn 6, 7 there, so he chased it earlier in the corner than Whincup's slide was later in the corner. Scotty's slide was in the segment between 6 and 7. Supercars head of Motorsport, Adrian Burgess, just watching what they're doing at the rear of car number 97, which is another damper spring combination change. So they're rehearsing at the moment. What's the car like? How's it behaving? Is it responding? They have all those dampers and shock absorbers and springs set up. Fabian's got the big slide on there as well. There was a lot of licorice left behind car number 12.
It certainly was.
So they have everything pre-set, and he barely manages to pull up down there at turn 2 so that they can fire another set of dampers and springs into the car straight away and get an immediate read. And all they want from the driver from an engineering standpoint is better, worse, no change, and then pull it apart in greater detail when they get into debrief later on.
Have a look at these numbers. So Whincup now goes McLaughlin to the top. I was just about to roll the 50.9s out, but McLaughlin does a 50.88. So now a 50.88 McLaughlin, 50.91 Whincup, 50.92 Van Gisbergen, 50.92 Mostert, 50.97 Reynolds. 5 cars separated by 0.09.
And just a little bit of info on the number 8, the Dunlop BJ entry for Nick Percat. He's been sitting here in the garage for quite a long time, and it was late to leave also for the start of the session. They had quite an extensive change going on with this car, geometry change going on. It took them a long time to get it fixed, but now it's got an electrical issue, and potentially there was actually something maybe left in the car after those changes that's caused the problem. So they're still struggling to get this car sorted. No dash, no shift lights for Nick Percat from the start of the session, albeit he has done the fastest lap he's done all weekend so far without any information and no dash. So maybe we should cover that stuff up more often, but they're about to head out now, but I don't think that issue is fixed yet.
Thanks for the update, Greg. And the problem is on a track where the margins are tiny at the best of times, micromanaging those upshifts, as you know, and Greg was out in the car this morning, Ryan Story, watching from the Shell V-Power Racing Garage. Every one of those shifts, and they had a problem with car number 17 at Shell V-Power this morning from McLaughlin with the same thing. It can cost you easily 100th or even a 10th of a second if you mistime the ideal time to shift. That's what the shift lights are about at the top of the dashboard, managing that very carefully, finding the exact right moment to not interrupt the drive to the rear wheels and pull that next gear through. Mostert on screen, currently 4th, second of the Mustangs, and looking for 3/100ths of a second to get to P1, position 1, and looking for 7/10,000ths of a second to be in the top 3.
It's amazing.
I mean, you'd shave a bit closer in the morning in search of 7/10,000ths.
Well, someone's jumped into those mad 50.9s also. So Fabian Coulthard has jumped up with a 50.96. So now you've got 6 cars separated by 0.09. Nothing. They're using such, we spoke about it in the previous session, it's the most asymmetric that the cars are ever run. Any of the races that we go to, they've got so much camber on the right-hand side, the loaded side of the car, and such little camber on the left-hand side of the car. That's what creates a lot of the yaw and the instability under brakes. We've seen a lot of the Tickford cars especially having trouble pulling those cars up at turn 6. It also has an effect down at the hairpin too.
The part that I savour the most watching these sessions is the fact that you've got 25 individuals out there with their own skills and capabilities. They're surrounded by, in some cases, 40, 50, 60 or more people on the engineering front, searching for every last skerrick of performance in everything. Weight, power, traction, braking, aero, car construction, where they place their weight, all of those things. Then you've got the dynamic setup of the car, which you've just touched on. So you turn up and you've got this myriad of opportunity to, I like to describe it as like having 100 strings hanging out of the ceiling. Which one do you want to pull, sir, and by how much when it comes to changing the car? That's what people like David Cauchi and Grant McPherson, who are on screen on the right-hand side, are doing. And yet, with all those variables, you end up where you look across the top 10 at the moment, 0.2 of a second, across a range of different teams. So, and they're not looking at each other's homework. Yeah. You know, they're doing it themselves. So they don't get the opportunity to sort of sneak over the other guy's shoulder and go, oh, that's what spring they've got in that car. That's how they do their master cylinders for braking. Oh, that's what their wing angles are. You've got to row your own boat in this caper. And that's one of the real intrigues. And then the really extraordinary part is the spacer behind the wheel, the driver, the 24 men and the one young woman out there who then string it all together in peak performance, don't blink and largely get it right 99.9% of the time to do those laps. Because if you're going to do a 50.8 like Scott Pye has just done, then you have to be able to put everything together. Carl Foe on the right, Rob Starr on the left, Ryan Walkinshaw in the background. Putting it all together perfectly is the art form. So stop and think about it at home. You're sitting in one of these cars, low slung, poor visibility, 1.5 tonne. That's 240 odd kilometres an hour on the run up to that corner. Where do you brake? How hard do you push that brake pedal? Can you hit the apex? Do you come out the other side? Do you touch the rev limiter on the upshift from first to second? Can I get the benefit of the toe? Will I outbrake myself? And you've got to do it not once, but when you go racing, you've got to do it for 120 Ks on Saturday and 200 on Sunday.
And just on what's happening down here in the lane right now, both the Shell V-Power cars have just rolled out of the pit boxes, and they've both got green tyres on the right-hand side, roaded on the left-hand side. They've both gone nose to tail, and they are getting ready again with more new tyres sitting in the garage. So keep an eye out for these guys, but yeah, they've gone for a bit of a mix to start and get a read on these cars. Thanks, Pete.
So have a look. When you've just rolled through all those times, because Pye going to the top of the 50.85, right through as just see Jack Smith just having a little drama there at turn 2, come over the rise a bit fast at turn 1, and then you go down to Tim Slade in 8th. There is 0.14 of a second across the top 8 cars, but there's also 5 different teams in that. In fact, there might be 6. Yeah, so you've got a multitude of different teams, 8 different drivers, and they're 0.14 apart. So one of the great things about our game is this level of competition and the rivalry we always talk about. But when you've got that number of drivers and those differing teams and the way they go about their business and all the things you just spoke about, Neil, that's just extraordinary.
So McLaughlin was cycling up on a tyre here. He's had a pole position but never had a win in Tasmania. Been a lot of talk in the last several weeks since the Grand Prix about these cars and about the 6 Mustangs. So this will be a little moment of truth in this session. When they're all gripped up, we'll see where things are between everybody. So good news inside this garage is that Scott Pye and James Courtney can relish in the fact that Scott's done the best time, 50.8. They've been in search of performance and trying to understand the change in spring behaviour with these cars. And Scott's gone well here in the past. He's also had a little bit of trauma over a period of time as well. So last year he was 8th and 6th in Saturdays and Sundays race, so 2 top 10 performances. His best ever here was 6th last year. Best ever qualifying was 7th. And remember, in 2013 he had that horrific incident down at turn 2 in the Lucas Dumbrell car where he ended up in the wall. Andrew.
Yeah, while James Courtney was in the garage there, his teammate did go to the top of the timesheet. So I was watching what they were doing in the back of that car. They did a full spring and rear damper change to try and get some stability into the back of the car before they go to greens. But so far, looks pretty good for these guys with Scott Pye at the top of the timesheet.
Hey guys, just on what's going on with Shell V-Power. They went out on those green tyres on the right-hand side. They brought both cars back in after that lap and a half that they've done, and now they're putting those warm ones that they had on the right onto the left and a green pair on the right-hand side. If you get my drift.
Yeah, thanks for that. So they're phasing them and putting a bit of warmth on the lazy side of the car to see if they get a yield from that, and then they'll use the natural energy that is transmitted to the right-hand side of the car with all these left turns to let it do its trick. So it's trying to find a way to balance up the grip. And I made mention earlier when Andrew Jones did a little analysis of camber earlier in the broadcast, that, you know, if you're lucky, and going back to the point you made, Mark, about the asymmetric nature of standing the lazy or inside part of the wheel and tyre up from a camber standpoint, you might, if you're lucky, have 2 palm widths of contact with the road in all 4 corners of the car.
Yep.
Most of the time it's about 1.
Yeah, exactly.
1 palm width is not a lot. When you stop and think about these things firing into corners at more than 250 kilometres an hour, etc. So let's just have a look at some of the numbers that matter around this racetrack. The lap record, Scott Pye, who's currently was fastest. Mark Winterbottom's just knocked him off, but Scotty's got a 51.2 as the lap record. Quali record, Craig Lowndes, who's back out of the Red Bull race suit now and back in the commentary group. So Craig, quality record 50.57, which he did last year en route to that Sunday victory. And then the practice record, Jamie Whincup's a 50.56. So 50.69 is the reason why Charlie Schwerkolt was clapping in the background there. So Mark Winterbottom's gone very close to knocking off those numbers that in practice record terms are currently held by Jamie Whincup. Now there's a question mark over the electrics in this car at the moment, and the feed that Nick Percat's getting on the dash in the Dunlop car looks good in those colours, beautifully presented. That's actually a fair margin that Mark Winterbottom's got over the others. Look, we've been talking about hundredths. He's actually got a 1/10 and a half. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I think that'll close up as we see more cars put fresh tyres on. Jack LeBrock, who was very good here last year, remember he ran in the top 5. He had some dramas in the earlier session with Shane Van Gisbergen, and Shane was less than impressed with where Jack parked the car and impeded on the way out of turn 2. Nick Percat did a really nice job on a brake stand and used that big high line. He's gone slightly better. He's 11th. He's on his personal best first and second sector. Now there's no lights there. You can see he's got the gear selection one, but he hasn't got any lights. So he's done a nice job to be able to do that without the normal instrument assistance.
So a fair bit of muscle memory in that, because he drives the car. He knows the harmonics and the sound and the feel of the car. But there's no illumination.
At the moment, we're going to pit and do another set.
So 50.8, nice work. He's only 0.12 behind. Means he's probably got no wheel spin or lock lights either. So depending on the driver's preference in each individual team, some of them use little lights to illuminate if you're getting excessive wheel spin, just to give you a visual reminder to be gentle with the throttle and look after your tyres. And also lock lights, so if you're locking up either side front, what you don't want to see is both those on at any given time, because that means you're in a fair bit of trouble.
That's me. That's probably Simona.
Yeah, she would have had all the lights on. It'd be handy to have a partner like Dunlop when the lock lights are all on, so you can just ring them up and say, "Could I have another set of tyres, please?" So he's in for another change and another set of tyres. So that's good effort there by Nick Percat. And it follows on from the form that we saw at the Grand Prix. The other thing that's always handy is the ability for different teams to dip in, Mark, and be able to get a result from time to time, which is also one of the hallmarks of the business. So Winterbottom driving for Charlie Schwerkolt. It's like when you have, anybody that's ever played golf or tennis or any of those sorts of games knows how important it is to occasionally get at least one good shot away. So Charlie Schwerkolt last year had a really difficult year, tough year, but made him think more than once about whether or not he wanted to continue doing it. And there he is, his car and his driver at the top at the moment. So that's the equivalent of the sweet golf shot for him right there now. It is. And that kind of gives you a little repayment of the faith, because there's been a huge investment there. So he'll be feeling pretty good about that. Now keep an eye on Van Gisbergen in the second sector and the first sector thus far. He's been the fastest man. So he's now about to threaten the time that Mark Winterbottom achieved. 2 minutes remaining in the session. Van Gisbergen goes to the top on a 50.65. He's just a 1/10 away from the practice record held by his teammate Jamie Whincup. Rick Kelly at the moment is currently in 19th. Now make that 14th position. He's up 5 spots. Fabian Coulthard, he's sitting at the moment in 4th position, right behind his teammate. They've almost achieved the exact same time. McLaughlin's done a 50.69. Coulthard's done a 50.74. Whincup, He's drifted now to 7th position. Personal best in Sector 1, but the best we've seen in Sector 2. He's about to cross the control line, goes to the top. Now that is right on the money. In fact, that's a record. So he's just eclipsed his own practice record, has he not?
Please, mate, that's P1, saving the tyre.
He has. So 50.5084 and 50.5609 last year for Whincup. So Whincup snatches the practice record from Whincup.
Courtney comes up 11 spots to 4th. So remember, we're looking for the top 10 to effectively get a free kick into qualifying 2. And at the moment, it's Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Winterbottom, Courtney, McLaughlin, Coulthard, Hazelwood. Great job, young Todd Hazelwood. Mostert, Percat and Pye.
Now, Van Gisbergen's pressing on here. He's cumulative between the first and second sectors, and he's got the benefit of the toe from Di Pasquale. Is better than his teammate Whincup, so if he keeps this stitched together in the final sector, he might knock him off. He gets to the control line.
30 seconds.
No. So a 50.5271. It is better than Jamie's record from last year. Smith off at the hairpin.
So who's missing? Reynolds. Where's Reynolds? Reynolds is 14th. So of the top contenders, Mostert now comes up 3 spots. He's now the fastest of the Mustangs. Will Davison comes up also 10 spots. And David Reynolds now up 12, comes into 3rd with a 50.58. Well done, Dave Reynolds.
He left that to the last moment.
Exit is now closed.
So McLaughlin and Coulthard ended up being 7th and 8th. Mostert ended up being 6th fastest. And Whincup and Van Gisbergen 1st and 2nd. And everybody in that top group of cars, Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Reynolds, are now they're on their in-laps now. So we'll see whether James can stitch anything together here. Right at the end, he drops the right rear off, and no improvement. Pretty close, though. He did a 50.75 on that last lap, and his best in the session was a 50.69.
So that top 10 covered by 0.29 of a second, Neil. I mean, there's just nothing in it, is there? What happens with Slade? He comes up slightly, only 1 spot into 16th. So remarkable. And a great rebound for Holden, given Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Reynolds, Winterbottom and Courtney. So effectively 3 different teams, actually 4 different teams across the top 5.
Phil Keed in conversation with Stephen Richards, and Mark Winterbottom actually walked off halfway through that, so he wasn't that interested. He's pretty happy with his work. I'm position 4. You blokes can chat amongst yourselves. So Whincup's done the fastest time, 50.5 from Van Gisbergen, 50.5. Reynolds has done a 50.5, said the repeating man, and Mark Winterbottom's done a 50.6. Courtney, Mostert, McLaughlin, Coulthard, Hazelwood and Davison. And remembering that the top 10 out of that session, they move on into qualifying 2 tomorrow, so it's very important for them. Percat, Pye, Heimgartner, Holdsworth, Kelly, Slade, Di Pasquale, Silvestro, LeBrock and Waters. So Cam Waters further down the order there. And the next group of cars, Macaulay Jones, Richie Stanaway, Jack Smith, the wildcard entry this weekend, James Golding and Gary Jacobson.
Well, Jamie Whincup, you just told me, I didn't realise you'd been a bit of a naughty boy from P1. You got a bit of a fine, did you?
Yeah, I got slapped on the wrist. Yeah, I did my quickest time under yellow. The car that was causing the yellow...
You didn't see the flag, did you?
The car that was causing the yellow was down at Hobart, you know, so I thought, I'm okay to stay up it. But anyway, there's no safety breach. But no, the car's good. Catchy made a couple of gains down in P2, so we're there or thereabouts.
I know you really love the statistics in the game. It's a new practice record too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm not getting any younger, so I'll take everyone I can get.
Oh, mate, sounds so tough. Hey, look good out there though. I mean, just tell us about the rest of the session and those changes you're making. But I mean, you're very fast.
Yeah, no, the car's good. It's not perfect though. It was actually, the car's much better.
Have you ever had a perfect car?
Well, yeah, here the last couple of years have been really good. You know, with the dual springs, you can get the best of everything. Whereas maybe I'm asking for a bit too much. It's nowhere near as good as what it was on the dualies, but
you've gone faster.
I've gone, yeah. I'm going to put that down to the weather, and our friends at Dunlop, they don't always, that concoction they make up with the black stuff, it's not always the same. So potentially that's a little bit softer than usual. So no, car's good. We couldn't be happier.
Thanks, mate. See you tomorrow.
Cheers.
Scott McLaughlin, you're one of the coolest cats in the pit lane. You're looking a bit aggrieved at the moment. What's up, bud?
Oh, just frustrated. I didn't get the lap together myself, and you always just as a driver you want to go out there and do the best. But overall I know where to work on and where to get better. It's so close though, so you can't afford to make a little hiccup. But we're in the 10. That's the main thing for tomorrow. So we'll go through to Q2 and have another crack.
And what are you looking for, generally around this place? Braking stability, is that what you're chasing?
Yeah, I guess in some ways the brake stability for me into 1 and 2 over the crest and stuff, it's quite hard to stop the car into there. That's where I'm probably the weakest out of everyone. Everything else is not too bad. It's just overall we just need to make it a little bit better everywhere.
I hope you can shake this cold and come out better tomorrow.
Sick. Bad case of the man flu. Cheers.
Mark Winterbottom, for a moment there, you were at the top of the timesheets. There was big smiles in this garage. Charlie was very happy. You look pretty happy and pretty comfortable with this car at the moment.
Yeah, we had a dud set of tyres for most of that session, so it gave us a really bad read. And then Phil and Stu and those guys gurued a little set there, so we're in a really good position with our tyre bank moving forward. And to make the 10, that was what that session was about. We can tune the car up now, which is really good, but to save tyres and make the session, that's really cool, and that'll help us Sunday and hopefully next round and so on from there. So that was a really good session, and clearly the cars are quite quick here, and we'll just keep chipping away, but making the 10 and not spending tyres is good.
Traditionally, the T8 cars have been very good at this circuit. I know, though, you were hesitant to come in confident because it's a car you're unfamiliar with, but you must, after these today, feel like you could have a very good weekend. Yeah, you do, and they were quick here last year, but we've come from the Grand Prix to here with massively different changes, and I'm really happy for the guys. They've worked really hard, and we're consistently in that top 10. Today, to get in the top 5 is that next little step, and you'll have your good days and bad days, but it's a nice feeling, and everyone's happy and they get reward for the hard work, so it's good, and we'll just keep chipping away. This little team will keep getting up there and keep turning it into something cool, and that's just the start of hopefully good things to come. Hey, look, this is a real family team. Look who's on the broom behind us. He's showing off, I don't know. So, it's a good day, but Alan's here, Renee and the kids are at home, but Renee's painting, so hi to Renee, but he stopped now. He stopped. For those at home, that's Renee's dad. He stopped now, and now the camera goes away, he stopped. So, funny that. Thanks, Ross. Cheers.
And just sliding into the second part of qualifying tomorrow, there on the last lap, I think it was, is David Reynolds. It's a pretty good job, mate. You left it to the last second, though.
That was our plan.
You went to plan.
You get all the TV time then, that's what it's about. No, mate, really happy with that. When we rolled the car out from practice 1 or even practice 0, the car felt good, and Luke's feedback was great to us. And we just kept building on, and it's good. It's a good session, that one, because everyone wants to not be in Q3 and get the chance to fall out of qualifying in total. So everyone runs a set of tyres, so you kind of know where you stand.
You were lacking a bit of confidence at the Grand Prix a few weeks ago. You sort of weren't really happy with where you were going, what you were doing, but this one straight away rolled out here, and it's, as always, so incredibly close, but much happier by the looks of it.
This is predominantly a Holden track, so Holden have dominated here over the years, so we'll see what happens tomorrow, but there's still a lot of sessions to get through.
What do you think about the new Parc Fermé rules that we're going to be in place tomorrow? Do you like that or not like that?
I love it, mate. I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's great. Any change is good as a holiday, so it's going to be interesting to see how you're going to qualify or trim up your car to cope with the race as well as qualifying. We can change our car for tomorrow, so that's probably full qualifying spec. So tomorrow everyone's going to be pulling off spring cambers, and the times won't be as good, but hopefully the racing's going to be better.
It is good. It's a good thing. See you tomorrow, mate. Good luck.
Thanks, brother. Cheers.